You hear Gabrielle? Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Into the Woods Productions live stream of Souvenir, directed by Chelsea Burke and starring Gabrielle Mays and Levi Mirovich. Thank you for being here. Well, here is relative, where you are. I'd say turn off your phones, but, well, you're not here, so you don't have to do what I say. We're going to tell a little story tonight. It'll be nice and cozy and intimate. Are you ready to begin? We are. Then shall we? Fantastic. It's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. So set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story you ought to know. We're drinking, my friend, to the end of a brief episode. No, I don't take requests. Not till I know you better. Make it one for my baby, and one more bar to hear grief from the pianist. Still, you've no doubt got enough of your own. But today's a kind of anniversary, so I'm not making any promises. And that's how it goes. And Joe, I know you're getting anxious to close. So thanks for the cheer. I hope you didn't mind my bending your ear. But this torch that okay, enough. I'm just down. I'm not suicidal. I'll be right as rain tomorrow, my usual cheery self. Well, what next? A tune for her, why not? Something she liked. What? Mrs. Foster Jenkins didn't care for cheap music, and I doubt you want to hear Mozart. She liked this, though she pretended she didn't. Crazy rhythm, here's a doorway. I'll go my way, you'll go your way. Crazy rhythm, from now on we're through. I counted up and I realized it's been 20 years since she's been gone. Sometimes her name still comes up. People still laugh. It's wonderful how everyone's so witty, isn't it? They never heard her sing, but they know enough to laugh. Here is where we have a showdown. I'm too high hat, you're too low down. Crazy rhythm, here's goodbye to you. Tickets were like gold those days. All the famous smart people, Cole Porter, Noel Coward, Elsa Maxwell, Walter Winchell, V. Aga Khan. They all came to hear her. They say that when a highbrow meets a lowbrow, walking along Broadway, soon the highbrow who has no crown, ain't it a shame? And you're to blame. When you sing, you're like a prize fighter. Though you don't use your fists, just air. A thin thread of breath, and that's it. You're mouthing words, making noise. Your ears are ringing. Who knows what's coming out? A singer takes a good deal on trust, you understand. No two voices are the same. An artist finds his or her own true voice. Second-raters. Well, they all sound like everyone else, don't they? The real ones. You hear them. There's no mistaking. They say that when a highbrow meets a lowbrow. People used to say to me, why does she do it? I always thought the better question was, well, why did I? Everyone's got their arrival story. How it was when they first hit New York. Imagine I'm 24, do that for me. New kid in town, ready to tear up the sidewalks. But since of prohibition, you produce the same condition. Crazy rhythm, I've gone crazy too. None of us had any money. My friends and I. But we didn't feel poor. We were young, on the brink, you know, about to do great things. Meantime, we did this and that to get by. Back then, when singers retired, they taught voice. Madame this, Maestro that. The old Hotel Ansonia crowd. I played for their lessons, and then at night I practiced my own solo recitals. Though I never gave any. And I wrote songs, art songs, tried to get them sung. We did that then. So let me tell you, after 5 years of living like this, I was pretty damn tired. Her nephew, Gil, was someone I knew from around. He said his aunt had a unique kind of sound, said she was looking for someone to play. She had a suite at the Ritz-Carlton, 16th floor. I went there next day. She gave me a glass of sweet sherry and showed me into the music room.
Mr. McMoon,
She said.
What matters most is the music you hear in your head. Don't you agree? The perfect idea, the beauty, not quite within our grasp. I have always had a great love of music. It's the music that draws me. It's the music that must come before all else. Let me be frank. While singing for friends, I have allowed myself to be accompanied by those who could not always give the music its due. Without wishing to cause offense, for this is my first public recital, I must be ruthless. I seek no reward for my singing, certainly no financial reward. I assure you, this is no mere act of vanity.
Mrs. Foster Jenkins.
Oh no, please, you must let me finish. I know how it might seem. A woman like myself comes to a man like you from out of nowhere, declaring herself ready to scale the pinnacles of the soprano repertoire. Why, you could think me no more than a mere dilettante.
Mrs. Foster
No, please,
Jenkins.
let me finish. I've sung many times for charity in various drawing rooms. Friends have been kind enough to compliment me on the depth of my feeling. Which is why it's been proposed that my name on a handbill might prove an attraction. Among my own circle, of course. I don't speak of the public at large, but still, enough to fill a modest hall, which is rather exciting, don't you think? What I seek, have sought, am seeking is a colleague, a collaborator, a soulmate.
Mrs. Foster Jenkins.
Oh, no, please, you must let me finish. Let me say at once that I would not expect you to undertake such a task without a remuneration that I intend to be fully commensurate with your dignity, of course. And now, what do you say?
Well, it's by no means impossible, what you ask.
I thank you for that. You've given me hope.
Oh, it's a matter of polishing, you said.
And perfecting, refining. May I confide in you, Mr. McMoon? You won't think me foolish. Some weeks ago, I dreamed I was singing in public. Do you know what it was that I sang in my dream? The famous aria of the Queen of the Night. Den Hollerach, in Koch in meine Herzen, Tod und Verzweiflung, Flammen um mich her. Oh, the very words produce chills. You are acquainted with that particular aria?
Zauberflote.
Come on.
Magic flute?
Yes, exactly. And who do you think was sitting in the audience, smiling up at me, encouraging me? Mr. Mozart.
Mr.
Mozart. I hardly call myself a follower of Mr. Freud, but the meaning seemed all too apparent. Did I have it in my voice, I wondered? Few sopranos are equipped to tackle the Queen of the Night. As you're no doubt aware, the aria's range is extensive. I had my doubts. One is only human, after all, but this is most uncanny. The next day, the very next day, Mr. McMoon, while driving in a taxi cab on Lexington, I found myself in a slight collision, and the F above C burst from me spontaneously.
The F above C.
Passerbys were enraptured, amazed. I stepped from that wreckage a new woman. But enough talk. Shall we take the plunge? Shall we make music? Shall we see how we suit? Let's see. Go cozy. Oh, not before lunch. Fanciulla, oh, so grateful to the voice. Lucia, oh, now she provides a fascinating problem, does she not? How to sing in Italian while at the same time suggesting a Scottish burr. Oh, should I mention some favorite? Shout it out! Ooh, Rose and Cavalier, yes. La Bohème, oh, each delicious in its own way. Rigoletto, caro nome, perfect. You are acquainted with the music, Mr. Verdi? Modern music isn't to everyone's taste, I know. Mr. McMoon, à votre plaisir.
What was she hearing? What? What was going on inside her head? Was I in the presence of mere delusion, or was this some sort of a dementia? Yes, that's, okay. Wait, please wait.
Yes, Mr. McMoon.
Let's see. Okay, so I have to say I am sensing a certain want of accuracy.
Accuracy?
Perhaps not all of the notes are quite what is written.
Not.
You don't hear it.
Then I only hear the music.
Okay, listen. Ya da 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 da.
Ya da 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 da.
Listen. Ya da 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 da.
This is what I hoped for. You have quite an attractive voice, by the way. I wonder if you ever considered developing it, or do you find yourself merely content playing the piano? I could never be, but then I have a temperament. Cher maestro. fine, get carried away and obfuscate the tempi. But this is exactly what I thought you'd stop me from doing. I put myself entirely in your hands.
Well, sure, okay.
I want you to be harsh, Mr. McMoon.
Harsh? Well, how can I...
You must be brutally honest.
Well, yes, okay. Well, okay, perhaps not quite all of the intonations are quite correct.
Not?
Not quite.
Have you perfect pitch, Mr. McMoon?
Pitch?
Pitch?
I have relative pitch.
Never fear, it's no disgrace, though. It must be inconvenient.
You are, have...
Perfect pitch? Well, yes. You find that hard to believe?
No, absolutely not.
I wouldn't blame you if you did. There are not many of us who are so blessed.
Mrs. Foster Jenkins, you spoke of a recital, that you are preparing for a recital. I'm wondering what exactly it is you mean by that.
Well, a recital, you would play and I would sing songs.
Yes, and the scale of it.
Oh yes, I see. A few select friends, some 200 or so, certainly not more than 3 or 4, here at the Ritz, in the ballroom, to benefit some of my favorite charities.
So this is not something the general public would?
Well, if some music lover should wish to attend, I would hope they could be seated.
Still, you don't expect, say, to be reviewed?
Oh, you mean those dreadful newspaper people. Would they be well? On no account, no. If you hunger to see your name in print, Mr. McMoon, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed if it's ambition.
And that's where I had a choice. I could have made some excuse, gone off into the afternoon, and gone about my day. But she was so absolutely transparently sure of herself. Not in a vain way, she was right about that. She believed the way a child might believe. It was touching, somehow. And it seemed to me that it would be intolerable if I didn't try to protect her. So, was that her vanity or mine? Shall we? Yes.
Bravo.
Yes. So, Mrs. Foster Jenkins.
Yes.
Every note has its own assigned value.
Yes.
When we see a B flat on the page, for example, we must be absolutely certain that that is a note that we sing.
Yes.
B flat, this is a B flat. It is an absolute. It is not something about which we can be evasive.
Well, I think it's possible to be too analytical, don't you? Nothing's more detrimental to good singing than this modern mania for accuracy. That was never true in the past. Music came from the heart. You say your notes are absolute, but what are they, after all? Signposts left by the composer to guide us. A vocal artist must claim some latitude.
Mrs. Foster Jenkins,
Yes.
I believe it's best to enter into any new relationship with a clear head, don't you? I'd hate to make a commitment now only to disappoint you later.
You have other engagements that would take up your time, or plans, perhaps travel?
I'm afraid my bank account won't permit much in the way of trips.
I'm glad you're speaking frankly, Mr. McMoon. Let me do the same. I was not always as you see me. Before my father's death, I felt inclined to make my own way in the world. Though confronted with the necessity to choose between personal comfort and art, I left my childhood home and made my own way in the world, laboring many long hours over the keyboard to bring what I could of the great mystery and joy that is music to the children of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Believe me, I'm very conscious of what my extreme privilege can provide, and one of the sweetest uses of my relative present affluence is to make what I have available to others
this recital, which is not to be reviewed. Gil mentioned a date, some...
6 weeks from today.
One recital. Just one. I mean, what harm could it do? Yes, it might not be everything I had hoped for, but... Well, was it my fault I had the whole of that month's rent to pay after my latest roommate had moved out somewhat abruptly after a dispute over the meaning of the word monogamy? I was already 29. Can't be promising indefinitely. Mrs. Foster Jenkins, I'm not quite sure why you think I can be so much help to you. I mean, you've hardly heard me play. Perhaps my style would not be suitable to show you to your best advantage. You see, Mrs. Foster Jenkins, your particular voice is... Your voice, Mrs. Foster Jenkins.
Mine is not a large voice. What I have is something far more rare. The true coloratura. Oh, I don't flatter myself. My own particular gift is purity of tone. Though you might find this hard to believe, when I was a young woman, my singing was actively discouraged. I've no doubt the dark night of the soul, music saved me. Dear me, my hands are trembling. You won't think me precipitous, Mr. McMoon, but somehow I feel like my whole life was in preparation for this meeting. There's vibration between us, artistically speaking. I cannot help but think our partnership is somehow fated.
I thought of my friends. They'd have to say. I thought of walking out onto the platform with her, sitting at the piano, lifting my hands to play. I thought of the rent. Shall we pick up where we... Yes. Right.
Stop! Stop! You must stop! This is wrong.
Pardon?
This is wrong.
I'm sorry, is there something wrong? I don't understand, Mrs. Foster Jenkins. I apologize if there was anything.
A time like this calls for sacred music. Here, this is the music I would sing with you. Years ago, it was the piece that awoke my soul. The Ave Maria. Mr. Gounod's, of course. I leave Mr. Schubert's to the mezzos. I must say that this has always been my final encore. I find my audience comes to expect it. It often provokes tears. Beginning at bar 22, please. Let's start with the Sancta. Let us start with what is best, Mr. McMoon. For only good can follow. Maria, Sancta. Maria. 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 Sa
That was how we began our association. We were together 12 years, so we met, what, 30 years ago? Jesus. Ancient history. I'm a relic. She's a myth. The crazy lady that couldn't see. We spent many hours rehearsing, many hours. When the great day finally came, she sang a total of 24 songs and 5 encores. Despite all the misstarts and drop notes, one selection followed another until finally she was done with her bows. I went up to the music room. I figured I'd change and slip out.
Dear heart, there you are. You must come and meet my friends. Oh, please, please, please. They were simply overawed by your playing. Finally, to meet an accompanist on one's own level.
Well,
It's been a gift. Now we must really get to work.
what?
Well, there's so much to be done.
You mean to do this again?
Well, yes. It seems a large part of the audience simply begged for our return. People had tears in their eyes. I'm not surprised. I myself saw some literally stop their mouths with handkerchiefs in order to stifle their sobs. Naturally, I will insist that nothing be done without you. We must get to work. Tutti sweet tomorrow.
You mean do this again?
Well, yes.
Rehearsing and so on.
Mais oui.
I'm really sorry. I don't think I can. I really, and I.
You don't.
I really don't. I'm sorry. I'm afraid there are other claims on my time, other commitments, other.
I think I see what's going on.
You do.
How could I not?
Well, I'm sorry, but you know, I tried my best. I thought that.
You naughty, naughty boy.
Pardon me?
In the 6 weeks I've come to know you, dear heart, I've come to care about you. As a friend.
Well,
about your future.
Well, I mean, it's my future that. And I mean, everyone's always telling me that I should be and focusing on my own and I don't know what I'm saying.
Oh, this is worse than I thought. For years, I allowed the opinions of others to get in the way of my musical progression. My greatest fear was that I surely you wouldn't do that.
I guess we could give it a shot.
Bravo! You shall see how well we will do together an ongoing working
Partnership.
Yes, in the public sense, of course, not in the private sense. Now you must come next door as soon as you're ready. Everyone's dying to meet you.
It was like magic. Word just spread. The more she sang, the more people wanted to hear. As the concerts went on, though, the audience changed. It wasn't just her Park Avenue friends anymore. It was more like the crowd you see at fights. Yes, we were at the Ritz-Carlton, so there was a certain level of restraint. But still, I see them. Doubled over, convulsing with laughter, hitting each other with their programs, leaping from their seats, bounding up the aisles, and then the sound from the lobby of people laughing. You see a lot from a piano bench. Meanwhile, Madame Flo was lost in the music. She assumed that those running for the doors were simply too moved, too overcome by emotion to stay. Afterwards, there were cheers and bravos, and she served sherry, and her friends would talk about what she wore, so one way or another, everyone had a pretty good time. Though I worried. I worried about the day that would come when the balance tipped, when her friends were outnumbered by that other, crueler part of the audience, when the ones coming to laugh set the tone. We were rehearsing. She loved to rehearse. She rehearsed more than anyone I ever knew. She was late, which wasn't like her. Wasn't like her at all.
What on earth are you playing?
I'm just noodling.
No, but really, what is that?
Nothing. A song.
A song? Well, what kind of a song?
Nothing you'd like.
You mean a popular song?
The kind of thing people dance to. A song.
Oh, it has words, this song?
Pardon me.
Words!
Shall we move on?
All in good time.
What? What is it?
What is what?
You've got a certain look about you.
I can't think what you mean.
Like the cat that got the cream.
Cream, indeed.
Well, what is it? Has something happened?
What would they be, these words?
You're not telling me.
For example?
Okay. Crazy rhythm,
Oh,
here's the
do
doorway.
play, won't you? You were playing so
I mean, really, it's
nicely
nothing
for-
much.
Oh, please.
Okay. Crazy rhythm, here's the doorway. I'll go my way, you'll go your way.
I'll go my way, you'll go your way. Yes?
No, it's syncopated, see? It's 1, 2, 1, 2. Crazy rhythm, here's the doorway. I'll go my way, you'll go your way.
I'll go my way, you'll go your way.
No, you don't sit. That's just for the beat. You don't. Listen. Just listen. They say that when a high brow meets a low brow, walking along Broadway.
Walking.
Walking.
Oh, walking. Oh, yes, quite a cheeky little tune, n'est pas?
The accents are falling on the offbeat. There's a certain spring to it. It's, what's the use of prohibition?
Is this what they call jazz? Is it? Oh, goodness, Cosme, you've quite shocked the Bechstein.
Music is music.
And people sing this song and they dance. Is that what happens?
Yes.
Your friends, for example, you and Kurt, such a personal young man, when you and he are entertaining the young ladies, you naughty boy.
Shall we, get going?
I could almost picture myself singing it. I imagine it would make quite a sensation.
Here at the Ritz, I don't know. Your audience expects something different.
Ah, but what if we were to find ourselves with a different kind of audience?
Different?
Different.
How different?
Suppose we suddenly found ourselves with more seats to sell?
More seats.
Many more.
Madam J, you've been sold out for weeks. Why would you need more seats?
Well, so that many music lovers could pay the 240 to attend.
Well, you already got 500 coming. Isn't that enough?
Think of my charities, Cosme. Think what such a box office boost could mean.
Boost?
Boost. You see, it's been proposed quite out of the blue that we move our recital to a larger venue, which is rather exciting, don't you think?
I thought you liked it here at the Ritz.
Yes and no.
I thought you liked the intimacy of the ballroom.
Yes and no.
Well, how much larger are we talking here?
Believe me, we'll make quite a splash. There's considerable anticipation among those in the know.
And it's just arranged, just like that?
Well, it's come as a shock. I quite understand.
I should say so.
Cosme, I was telephoned. This was proposed. Oh my.
Proposed?
My hearing.
Move us where? The Hippodrome?
Not quite.
Where? Dear God, tell me where.
Town Hall.
Town Hall?
It's been proposed that we move our recital to Town Hall where they're guaranteed not one empty seat, not one!
But...
I mean, I knew I had a following. I mean, I'm not blind after all, but I must say I had no idea I was quite so popular.
I can't believe what you're telling me.
Well, I could hardly believe it myself.
I mean, what have I been doing all this time, All this rehearsing, this is not easy for me, you know. I'm trying to do what's best for you. I could just let you sing, you know, but I don't. I don't because I worry, and because I do the decent thing, everyone just assumes that
Think what's at stake in these perilous times. There's so many in need. How could I refuse? We must all try to do some good in the world.
But at what price?
I beg your pardon.
At what price?
I don't understand.
Your artistic standards. What of them?
Come dice?
Your voice in a barn like Town Hall.
A bar?
Oh, they didn't tell you about the acoustics. Well, it's famous for it. How you can't hear.
You can't hear?
You think you've gone deaf?
Deaf?
To go from our little room to that great, huge monster, it's something that should be approached gradually. Very, very gradually, if at all. If at all.
Well, surely we can rehearse, prepare.
And what if strain should be induced? What then?
Strain?
It could undermine all we've worked for. I can't allow that. I won't. I don't care what people say.
Strain?
Strain. Mrs. Foster Jenkins, if your concern is extra revenue, wouldn't the same result be achieved by adding an extra concert here at the Ritz? That way there won't be any.
Strain? What can I say? You have saved me from myself.
Well.
Mil grazie, signora. Buona fortuna.
Prego, I guess.
To abuse one's voice is unthinkable. After all, one isn't a trombone.
Exactly.
We shall add 2 more recitals to our present schedule.
2?
Very well, 3, but no more. How right you are, Cosme, and how very wise. There's no good reason to leave, and every good reason to stay. I shall explain to Town Hall. Let them find someone else to sing in their barn. Some mezzo or other. Forgive me for not considering.
How could she not know? I mean, she had to hear the laughter, the jeering. Maybe she thought, if I was in on it, she was in on it too. You know what it's like in this town. There was a lot of speculation over martinis. It was all too sophisticated for words. To hell with it, I don't care. Let them think what they like. All this time I'm playing with Madame Flo and I'm telling myself this is just part of my life. I mean, I never see her in the spring or summer. I never see her outside of the music. I had a patron now. All the money I made working with her kept me going year round. I had all this free time now. Time to do something remarkable. Something astonishing. Time to become whoever it was I was supposed to be. So I wrote songs. Happy songs. Sad songs. Short songs. Long songs. Songs nobody wanted to sing. We are niche at the Ritz-Carlton. Not exactly ideal, but it was okay. If I couldn't stop her making a fool of herself, at least I could limit the damage. From day one, she begged me to let her sing the Queen of the Night. It was her one big ambition, her one big dream. Don't ask me why. I told her, not yet. You're not ready. I'm not ready. Hell, nobody's ready. I mean, how could she think she could sing it? She had no voice, no ear, no true musicianship, nothing. She had nothing beyond a certain feeling. True, that had never stopped her before, or me either. Oh, but the Queen of the Night! I mean, it felt like it was crossing a line, right? Going from having an oddly endearing blind spot, an eccentric lack of perspective, to, what, madness?
I've been invited to make a record! Me! It seems they think I could do much to popularize good music.
I don't understand, Madam J. Who's invited you to make a record?
The record company.
Yes, but which one?
Oh, there's more than one? Well, I should think it would be the record company that appeals to the lovers of good music. They want me to choose which particular aria will show my voice to its best advantage. At last, I shall have a chance to really hear myself.
Oh my God.
The time has come to perfect dear Mr. Mozart's beloved aria for the Queen of the Night.
Do you really think that's the best choice for a record?
But it's the perfect choice, Cosme. Think. In days when my voice is not perhaps quite as strong as it is now, to be able to hear it as it once was, in all its glory. A lovely souvenir.
Yes, but think, Madam J, think a record can be so misleading.
You're not going to be stubborn, are you? Please. It would mean so much to me.
But what if you were to be disappointed?
Disappointed? In what way?
Well, the sound you hear in your head when you sing, could that ever be caught on record?
Cosme, I'm not a fool. You talk to me as if I'm a fool. Dear heart, of course I know that. How could I not? Of course I know it will be but a shadow, but why not at least record something I can be recorded? I'll imagine the rest. Think of all I could learn. That microphone would be quite objective.
It will not be objective, it will diminish. I am objective. I am your ears.
So that's it, Cosme. You think I would rely on you less. Well, how could that be when this device will merely allow me to enjoy something what everyone else hears? Is that such a bad thing?
Suppose that what you hear is not what you expect. Suppose that there are certain aspects of your vocal production that are... Sometimes, what we hear in our own head, in our inner ear, that is the truth.
You have touched me, Cosme. Truly touched me. I had no idea you had such feelings of protection towards me, but you must see how you can protect too much. It's from our greatest challenges that we learn most. Without the risk of failure, there can be no success. You say your microphone will diminish. Well, so will doubt. Art cannot be ruled by caution. The queen of the night awaits, and my breath is her life. We've come this far. Let's not falter now,
A record. Hear herself. The queen of the night.
It's not all I could have hoped for, but on the whole, I must say I'm quite pleased. Quite pleased. It has spirit, con brio molto vivace. Yes. My one concern is there's a spot where something goes awry. I'm surprised you didn't notice yourself, naughty boy, because I would expect that you would tell me, because it's very important that we get everything just right to record that side over again. Cosme, you intend to say nothing?
I'm thinking.
My friends will want copies, yours will too.
Oh my God.
So it's going to be available at Altman's amongst other places, so it's quite important that everything be perfect. You know how critical people can be, to say nothing of the newspapers. I've kept them away from my recitals, but I can do nothing to stop them availing themselves of a record. I've seen how unpleasant people can be, especially when they have the opportunity to criticize a person above their social sphere. Goodness knows I'm no snob. Look how well you and I get on. Well, but you can't expect some gutted journalist to have an appreciation for all the knowledge of the music of Mr. Mozart. Let me see if I can fly. There, you heard it? I'm sure of it now. I'm sure of it. There's no mistake. No doubt in a recital such a teeny tiny flaw would not be remarked upon. The presence of the artist would bring the hearers along, but that microphone is so unforgiving, so unaware of nuance. I see that now. Oh, not that I didn't believe you when you warned me, but still, it's all rather humbling, but there can be no doubt. The piano isn't quite with the boys. Oh, well, no doubt. You were unnerved to find yourself away from the dear music room. Your concentration wasn't all it should be. You mustn't blame yourself, not for 1 minute.
It's not right. There's a mistake. You want it to be right.
Well, naturally, don't you?
Don't I? Oh, don't I? Well, let's get it right then, shall we? We're gonna get it just right, okay? Do it. No! Do it! No! Do it! No, do it! No! Why can't you hear? Why can't you listen? Just listen! Why can't you just listen? Can't you hear it? Hear it! God damn it! Why can't you just do what's written, you silly woman? You said I should be brutal. Right at the first.
I didn't ask you to be rude.
I want you to sing as well as you can. I hope you believe me when I say that, because I mean it. Sincerely.
You have some sense of shame.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with my ear. Nothing at all.
No.
Nothing. I want that to be clearly understood.
Yes.
I am known for my ear.
Yes.
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
Every Greek, each Turk, and each Latin, the Russians and Prussians as well. When they seek the lure of Manhattan, are sure to come under your spell.
Nothing.
Their native folk songs they soon throw away. Those Harlem folk songs they soon learn to play. Can't you fall for Carnegie Hall, madam? Call it a day, and we'll say crazy rhythm, here's the doorway. I'll go my way, you'll go your way. Crazy rhythm, from now on we're through. Here is where we have a showdown. You're too high hat, I'm too low down. Crazy rhythm, here's goodbye to you. They say that when a highbrow meets a lowbrow walking along Broadway, soon the highbrow, she has no brow. Ain't it a shame? And I'm to blame.
Naughty boy.
What's sense of prohibition improves the same condition, brings with them I've gone crazy too.
Ridiculous song.
Crazy rhythm got me going, crazy rhythm there's one away, crazy rhythm why I'm here with you.
Those are not the words. For goodness sakes, Cogsway, at least you can sing the words. They say that when a highbrow meets a lowbrow, walking, walking, walking along Broadway. Play it!
Soon the highbrow, he has no brow.
Ain't it a shame? And you're to blame. What's the use of prohibition?
You produce the same condition. Crazy rhythm, I've gone crazy too.
Now that song may be called ridiculous.
We'll do it for your next record.
There are so... Dear heart, you must know how grateful I am for all that you do. So very grateful. So very, very grateful.
My friends all bought the record. Well, Well, that's Act 1, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you'll join us soon for Act 2. Hello everyone. Welcome back for Act 2 of Souvenir. I think we shouldn't waste any time and let's just hop right into it. The record did very well. Surprisingly well. Amazingly well. So we made more. The damn things played all over the East Side, my name on record labels going round and round and round. She became an honest-to-God celebrity. She was much imitated at parties, you can imagine. All this time I was playing for Madame Flo, my friends used to kid me, but it was okay. Well, pretty much. Then the kiddings got pretty intense. Like it was the only thing they could talk about. They'd say, oh, how are rehearsals going? Or they'd suggest stuff she could sing. And they'd all laugh. They couldn't stop laughing. So I thought, what the hell? Friends ask me out. I tell them I'm busy. I made new friends, less musically inclined. All the while I'm playing with Madame Flo and I'm telling myself that really she's just part of my life, you understand? I had all these other things I was doing. You know, I wrote more songs. I began an opera. And I tore it up. I traveled some, bought groceries, fell in love. Then one day my suits didn't fit. You can only live on hope for so long. At a certain point you begin to ask yourself, is this it? Is this all I rate? Am I crazy to keep writing songs nobody wants to sing? Maybe they're right. Maybe they are trash. Maybe I'm no better than her. And I would suffer. Because there's this thing that happens to you when the rest of the world doesn't view your life's work the same way you do. When you realize you've become a kind of a joke. You can deal with the rolled eyes, the snickers. Fight the contempt. Or you can adjust. Lower your expectations. Either way, you're not going to be happy. But then I would look at Madame Flo. She was never unhappy. She never needed to adjust. I mean, with her it was the opposite. She actually got happier. I mean, she just kept right on singing with me there beside her. And it got to the point where I found myself admiring her. I found myself hoping some of her certainty would, rub off on me. I can be happy. I can be sad. I can be good or I can be bad. It all depends on you. As time went by, I moved beyond admiration and began to wonder if she wasn't really some kind of a genius. I mean, her folly was so stupendous you had to admire its scale, like the Chrysler Building. I found myself wondering if she hadn't discovered some new kind of form. If her performances weren't really commentating on what our assumptions of what music is and isn't. It got so I almost preferred the way she sang. I heard Rosa Ponzel. Something was missing. I can save money or spend it, go right on living, or rent it, you're to blame, honey, for what I do. I mean, who's to say that if one note follows another, we call it a tune, but a different note makes us wince? Who made up the rules? I never said this to any of her. She wouldn't have seen how it applied. So I said it to myself. I'd have these long theoretical discussions with the bathroom mirror on the meaning of the word counterpoint. I hardly knew there was a war on. I know that I can be beggar. I can be king. I can be almost any old thing. It all depends on you. It was the autumn of our 12th year together. We were preparing for that year's recital at the Ritz. September 1944. We were rehearsing. You should be here, Madam Chair.
Is that what I sang?
C.
Well, no, the piano must be out of tune. It seems to be happening more and more these days, as if it made too much music in the past and it cannot quite find the notes, though its heart is willing.
I'll play you your cue.
Cosme, I want you to promise that if you ever come to detect any hint in my voice that it was not as it was, you will tell me at once.
Madam Chair.
Well, never mind if I deny it. Never mind if I accuse you of ingratitude or disloyalty.
Madam Chair.
Well, no matter how difficult such a thing may be, I would want you to be the one to tell me. Don't let me be like the Bechstein.
You sound pretty much the same as you always have.
You're not just saying that.
Well, what is it, Madam Chair? Something happened.
You don't hear it, dear heart, but there are times when I find myself having to chase after the notes that used to come quite effortlessly. Though I've done my best to protect my voice, time still takes its toll. Since I must face the day when my music will desert me, I wonder, would it have been better not to have been so blessed?
Well, you're not thinking of retiring, are you?
Retiring? Why would I think of retiring?
Well, you just said that your voice is not...
Rhetorically, I still dream of reaching a wider public. Cosme, I've always been so fortunate, so very well protected. Something rather exciting, almost.
Almost what?
Well, you're not going to be cross, are you?
Cross? Why would I be cross?
Well, exactly. No doubt you'll be as thrilled as I am. You see, it's been proposed.
Yes.
A grand recital to honor our fighting men. I'm told there's many lovers of good music in the armed forces. Did you know? Oh, I must say, I had no idea.
Proposed?
Yes.
A special concert here at the Ritz?
Not quite. When it was proposed, what was proposed? I couldn't help but feel what a feather in my cap it would be to see nothing of yours to be able to say, yes, I've played.
Played?
Somewhere, very somewhere, almost.
What place?
Cosme. It's been proposed that we give a concert at Carnegie Hall. That's what's proposed. I couldn't be more surprised.
You keep saying proposed. Who keeps proposing these things?
Well, the people who want me to give the recital. Really, Cosme, who else would propose it? My only concern is that you should think it a good thing. I get quite overwhelmed. I can't help it. I wonder if this is what it means to be nervous. I feel an unaccustomed tightness in my throat. Seems strange that I should be assailed by nerves like any beginner, but oh, there you are. Now you know. I must sit down. Whew. Well, I must say, this isn't exactly how I hoped you'd react. It's a rather red letter day. I do wish you'd say something.
Carnegie Hall. I heard Heifetz there. I heard Gally Kersey there.
And soon you'll hear me. Us! And the best thing of all, the icing on the cake, as it were, I'm determined to sing something of yours.
No, really, you don't have to do that.
Oh, goodness, it's what you deserve.
No, I don't deserve it. I'm really very undeserved.
You've written so many lovely songs over the years. It's a scandal they're not heard. You would think you almost don't want the sung the way you hide them away.
Oh, yes,
Remember
that's part of the
how I
idea,
had to
yes.
beg and beg before you let me have them printed? Unless nobody would hear them. Tiens. The world has waited long enough. What better time to sing Serenata Mexicana?
Serenata's really more for a mezzo.
Oh, but these days I'm showing warmer colors, don't you think?
Well, yes, but do you think it's really showy enough? I don't think it's showy enough at all.
Not one more word, I insist.
You don't have to do this.
But I want to.
Well, I mean, you know how long it takes you to get a song. When is this proposed concert proposed to be? How much time do we have to prepare?
I have it by heart already.
I really can't do this. I really can't do this.
Cosme, look at me. Look at me. I have absolute faith in you. I know you will rise to the occasion. It's come as a shock, I quite understand, but once you get used to the idea, you won't feel so overwhelmed.
Does it have to be Carnegie Hall?
I think I could die happy knowing I've sung there. I really do. And you will hear your serenata as it should be sung. Remember, Niño, the day that we had last summer, when you murmured forever beside the shining sea.
I really don't know what to say.
Never fear, Cosme. I'm beginning to feel that as long as we're together, there's nothing we can't do.
Carnegie Hall. We sold out almost the moment the concert was announced. $2.40 tickets were scalped at $20. We worked very hard to make sure everything was right. She had a brand new wardrobe designed, a different costume for every song. We spent many, many hours in the music room making sure everything was perfect. Every note. Every note. It was winter in Manhattan. Falling snowflakes filled the air. The streets were covered with the film of ice. But a little simple magic that I'd heard about somewhere changed the weather all around just within a trice. When I got to the hall, there were flowers everywhere. Flowers. I walked over from my place on East 53rd. The streets were crowded with servicemen, some with girls, others in groups on the prowl. I even saw some at the mob at the box office waiting for returns. On my way in, I saw some ex-friends. They were talking to a kid in uniform, fresh from one of those places you'd never heard of. He kept on yapping about how disappointed he was, how he wasn't going to get to hear her, how everyone told him this was the big thing in town. I had an extra ticket. I gave it to the boy with the smile and wondered what life had planned to temper his enthusiasm. He was so pleased he could hardly talk, so that was something. Once inside, I could hear her warming up, and again I wondered, just how much did she really know? Really, how much did she know? And more to the point, how would she react when she saw those faces in the house, all of them hungry, wanting something from her? Would her folly, or madness, whichever it was, be enough to keep her safe? And even more to the point, what of my part in all this? No matter what anyone said, I was playing Carnegie Hall. My song would be sung in Carnegie Hall. I mean, that's something to be proud of, isn't it? Some profit from all those spent years. You smiled at me so sweetly, since then one thought occurs, that we fell in love completely. the day that I bought you violets for your Singing is a kind of dreaming in public. But were we headed towards a nightmare? That last summer in Mexico with Kurt, he slipped getting onto a boat. He hit his head. Later, he said it was like he was somewhere else, watching us drag him out of the water and try to revive him. He said it was quite peaceful in that place, quite calm, until he decided to breathe and come back to all the mess and smells and joys of life. I never really understood what he meant until I walked out on that stage. Something so overwhelming, you know, it stays with you. You never really forget it. I mean, even right here and now, I could be back in that hall. I remember I made my entrance. Hello. I remember thinking, who made the light so bright? And I reached the piano. I played a brief intro, I'll spare you. There was a hush over the crowd. Then she entered. First, she sang. The Bell Song. The audience seemed ready to play its part. I was quite worried that at Carnegie Hall things might turn ugly, but it seemed like there were veterans and regulars there who were going to keep the newcomers under control. That was quite helpful. My serenata was next. She said she had something big planned, but she wouldn't tell me what it was. It's a surprise. Of all the costumes she was going to wear that night, that was the only one I hadn't seen. I said a prayer. I began the introduction. there it was. Though you could hardly call the performance ideal, you can't say it didn't happen. Let me tell you, I was pretty damn proud. My song had been sung in Carnegie Hall. My God, I was up there with Brahms. She sang one of his next. A song that perfectly expressed her own views of singing. Yes, art must thrill the soul, but its true purpose was to teach. The crowd was on the edge of their seats, barely hanging on, hungry for more. She didn't hear laughter. She heard cheers, bravos. Out in the house, strangers were scanning their programs, eager to compare their favorite bits with one another. Veterans were showing newcomers how to save their strength, how to hide behind the seat in front of them to hide their laughter, how to stifle their mouths with handkerchiefs, how to cut and run when things just got too much, all the old tricks. Meantime, we came to...
Oh, justement, au fond de la cassette, un miroir. Oh, que je suis coquette. Oh, que je suis coquette.
The Jewel song. She had one last hurdle before intermission, one last obstacle to traverse. I begged her to give it a miss, but she insisted. I'd seen the audience. They were barely hanging by a thread. Already some had bolted for the doors. But she said that if she were happy in her music, she wanted those who heard her to be happy too. If Mr. Sinatra had his Bobby Soxers, why should she be denied that same kind of adulation? I thought it was playing with fire, but there it was. Adele's laughing song. In the intermission, she was skipping about like a girl. I tried to get her to rest. She's still some pretty heavy stuff to get through. She began the second half of the evening with the Queen of the Night. They were screaming, on their feet, shouting, "Brava, diva," applauding till their hands hurt, to cover the laughter. She took it in stride. She assumed that Mr. Mozart was having the same effect on them that he did on her. After that, she sang a couple of old favorites, and then she threw in something rather unexpected, a tribute to our fighting men. The crowd was reckless. The long effort to control themselves finally pushed them over the edge. Tallulah Bankhead had hysterics and had to be carried outside of her box. In the orchestra, they were waltzing in the aisles. Fights broke out in the mezzanine. In the balconies, they were waving their arms from side to side, handkerchiefs fluttering down from the upper tiers. The house was stifling. We were well into the encores. They wouldn't let go. They knew it was coming. So did I.
didn't you tell me?
They gave me a piano so I could warm up.
You didn't tell me. Why didn't you tell me?
Toscanini dresses here, right in this room.
Cosme,
Think of that.
why didn't you tell me?
What is it? What is it, Madame Flo? What is it?
Have I been so foolish?
Well, I thought it went very well.
Have I?
Really, very well.
How could you let me make such a fool out of myself?
Madame dear, you just had a huge triumph out there, a huge success, huge. Oh, didn't you hear that? Didn't you hear how huge it was at the end there? Didn't you hear?
I heard.
What did you think, Madame dear?
I didn't know what to think.
Well, let me tell you. You know, I don't mind admitting that I was quite nervous before we began. You know, I really didn't know how they were going to take you. But boy, they really loved you. Loved you. A whole concert hall full of strangers, and they loved you.
Did they?
Loved you.
Did they really?
Really.
Cosme, you would tell me.
On my way in, I saw this kid, really, just a kid in uniform. He had no idea where he was going to end up. But I'll tell you, after tonight, he's going to have some happy memories. He's going to be one happy GI.
Happy?
Yes. Yes, happy. All of them very, very happy. Didn't you hear that? Didn't you hear how happy they were?
Cosme, I thought they were laughing. Were they laughing? You'd expect that during the laughing song. That's to be expected, but my Alfie? Why would they laugh? I don't understand.
You've heard of nervous laughter. How sometimes when an audience sees something that they just can't process emotionally, the only way for them to release that energy is to laugh. I'm sure you've heard that. Haven't you heard that? You know, I'm surprised you haven't heard that. Everyone knows that. Ask anyone and they'll tell you. Now, how many singers today can provoke that kind of a reaction? Let me tell you. It's very few. It's very, very few.
I'd seen with handkerchiefs before. I'd seen that, but I thought...
Well, of course, I mean, you wouldn't want them just sobbing, would you? Just bawling their eyes out.
I don't understand. I thought I was in voice.
You were in fine?
I'm some things I always sing well, but one or two I thought I never sung better. Oh dear, Cosme.
I don't understand why you're upset. I thought you'd be happy. Why aren't you happy? You had a triumph tonight.
You would never tell me something that wasn't true, would you? For whatever reason, you would never lie to me.
I would never do that.
You promised me, you swear.
I swear on all that is holy that I would never lie to you. Do you believe me? Do you? You better believe me.
I was so afraid.
I don't know what you thought went on out there.
I didn't know what to think.
You're overtired from all the excitement.
I felt lost. I didn't like that.
No one likes that.
I felt... I do feel quite tired.
Well, you ought to. Look at what you did.
Toscanini really dresses here. If only he could have heard me tonight. I imagine he'd have much to say.
Yes.
Cosme, if Mr. Mozart was here, do you think he'd been pleased?
I think he'd have been very pleased.
I do hope he'd have been pleased. And Mr. Verdi, Mr. Gounod, all of them. Since I was a young girl, I dreamed of such a moment. It was ahead of me, something to look forward to. But now it's over. A dream is gone. If only we could live in the music forever and ever, Cosme. If only it could just go on and on. But of course it can't. Of course it has to end. I must get changed. And you will come to the party, won't you? You won't desert me.
As if I could.
I should so like it if you accompany us to the reception, unless...
I should be honored, truly.
Thank you, Cosme. Thank you for telling me the truth. In my heart of hearts, I never really doubted you would.
Within a month, she was dead. No, it wasn't the concert. It had nothing to do with the concert. I read how it broke her heart, how she never sang again, and all that nonsense. But let's be honest, Mrs. Foster Jenkins was not the type of character to die of heartbreak. What I do know is that she called me bright and early next day to begin preparations for that year's recital at the Ritz. The day she died, she was meeting some friends for lunch at Schreff's. They were going to a matinee of Harvey, but she'd already seen it, so she said her goodbyes, stopped by Schirmer's to order some music, which is where her heart gave out. The manager sat her down in a chair and gave her some ice water. She said it was rather a nuisance, as she still had quite a lot left to do. She said she was feeling better, and it was probably just a cream chicken. Then she was gone. They closed the store till the ambulance arrived. We were supposed to rehearse later that day. Toscaninis and flowers. I missed her. I really missed her. I was surprised how much I missed her. She always used to say that unless she was under the spell of the music, that her singing didn't count. How it was just the music that mattered. And the thing about music is, well, it's like she said that first day, that what counts is the song you hear inside your head. And that's it. Whether she was incredibly resilient or just plain crazy, I don't know. Either or both. Who's to say? But whichever it was, what the audience heard was one thing. What she heard was something else. What she heard was... Productions.
That's right, with Mad Monkey TV, and please give. These events are very important, and you know, we all are suffering immensely during this time. Most of us are, as you know, not able to make a living. So give generously to these wonderful artists, Jason, Fiona, Doug, Levi, and me!
Und her. It's important now than ever that we keep the arts afloat and
Yes.
alive. It's very easy for foundations like the theater during times like this to fall to the wayside, but it's more important than ever to support the arts. Remember, while you were quarantined for weeks and weeks and weeks, what did you do? You
We were
binged
starving.
Netflix.
See how much weight I lost?
You turned to the arts for comfort during
That's
a time
right,
of need.
yes.
So please support, and
Thank you very much
thank you
for
so
joining
much
in.
for tuning in.
Thank you. Good night. Bye.
And remember, a portion of your proceeds go to Kidney Foundation.
That's
Have a great
correct.
night.
All right.
What the ass? The ass kid.